Shah.
Me. Alright, so this is what I kind of go through. I think we've all kind of gone through this, where I believe that it's very difficult to rely on anybody, and relying on us, on ourselves, becomes extremely difficult, especially in times of crisis, in times where things don't seem to be going your way, in times when you're crying and you're all alone, which is a lot of times. So I just want you to keep this with yourselves in your heart, that anytime you fall, it's always going to be you who's going to pick you guys up, and nobody else. Let's go to slide 2, please, since we don't have to figure it out. That's also me. Alright, so this is basically depicting how we are always running, how I was always running. Always trying to achieve something, always trying to prove myself, always filled with some kind of anxiety. And things, even when it happens, the point is that when you're running, you seem to be missing the present moment. And all these years, trust me, after 15 years of trying, and I'm here today in front of all of you, I have realized that things are not going to go according to my timelines or my goals, and I can run as fast as I want in any direction, but it doesn't mean you're going to achieve it. Right? It is going to happen when the divine timing kind of hits its mark, when it knows that you're ready, and it tests you. Trust me, it's tested me over and over again. It has tested me in times when I was just about to reach success. I think it was like, for example, I was 19 years old, right? And can you put the next slide actually, so then they can understand? Whoa! Yeah, okay. Can we go back one slide, please? No, there was one in between. Anyway, we'll just stick with this. Go to the next one, which is Dennis the Menace, please. Alright. What this basically I'm trying to depict to you guys is that many a times we try to prove ourselves. I know that I've always felt out of place, especially when I was in school, when I was growing up. I never thought that I fit in anywhere. I always felt like people were always cheering on other people, and I'm just like standing in the corner, just hoping that one day they would see me, one day they would cheer me on. That never came. And then I started to rebel, just like this kid over here. I would break the rules. I would not listen to both my parents. I got suspended many a times for keeping long hair and for whatnot. I don't follow in my footsteps, and those things will take place. This is just to let you know this is what I've done. I have rebelled, and I've actually graffiti painted, my school, right? But I did that, and it actually forced me to kind of get out of that school. And my professor over there, Mr. Cooney, he mentioned to me that day, and I begged him, I really begged him. I fell on his feet and I was like, please sir, don't, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to do it. It was just in the spur of the moment. And he told me that one day you're going to come back and you're going to thank me, right? And I didn't want to thank him at all at that point of time. I was like, what? You're crazy. But the thing is that I actually came back and thanked him, because I realized that every action's got a consequence, whether it be positive, whether it be negative, but it's got a consequence. And you got to realize that the seeds we sow today is what we're going to reap in the future. So at that point of time, I was sowing the wrong seeds, and there was nobody to guide me. But I learned the hard way, and I learned that you should be very aware of what the consequences could be when you do a certain step. Could we have the next one, please? So, when I felt lost, I dropped out of college because like I said, I didn't feel like I was fitting in anywhere. So when I was 19, I dropped out of college and I started this business with my mom. And it was about labor recruitment. We were flying in laborers for construction purposes. Besides that, I was also into real estate, I was also into hotel management, I also did some kind of construction, and none of them gave me happiness. None of those things gave me happiness. It gave me a decent amount of money for a certain amount of time until the financial crisis hit, and then I lost everything. And at one point of time, could we have the next slide, please? At one point of time, we think that I was doing really well and all the money's going to come to me and I'm all successful, but this is how we go through, right? In life, we got to go through different levels. This is my favorite line, by the way, I'm going to say it very nicely. Because every level's got another devil, right? And that devil needs to be fought at every point of your life. Right? You might think you make it, you might think that this is your plan and that's the end goal, but it's never like that. And I might be at the shark area right now in my life. That's me happening at the moment, right? That's where I'm fighting and we're groping. But this is how we feel. And at the age of 23, after I lost everything, I decided to join acting. And I was always researching about it, but I just never took the initiative. I never had the courage to do something which was out of my comfort zone, which was in Dubai, construction, those kind of things. And all my friends after dropping out of college said, you will never come back to college, you will never come back, you're gone. And I'm like, oh no, I'll come back. But I never did. I dropped out, I did those things, I failed again. I joined acting and I thought, okay fine, you know what, I got a big break. I got the Mammoth, production house, Yash Raj Films, gave me a break. And I was extremely honored, privileged. But to be honest, I don't think I was able to sustain that. And life was teaching me a different lesson. And after that, the first film that I did, I had nothing. I was back to ground zero. I had my phone at that point of time, and I remember that I had to kind of like whitewash my phone, kind of like delete all the numbers because I was getting launched. And after that, when I did, and I didn't really, the film didn't do that great. I was back to ground zero. I had no work. I had extremely low self-worth. I felt like I didn't belong again. And then I started getting angry. And then I started getting frustrated. I started understanding, or started believing that I need to put in all the effort, all the work, sleepless nights, push in as much as possible, burn the candle from both the ends, but none of that works. Because end of the day, when it had to happen, it happened. And could you go to the next slide, please? So at that moment of time, around when I was 31, a few years ago, my brother, it was okay until everybody else didn't believe me. It was okay, nobody trusted me, nobody thought that I could be successful in the career that I've chosen. But when my brother told me that, hey buddy, you've been there for like 8-10 years now and nothing's really happening for you, so maybe you should just give up. And maybe you should just fall back on a plan B or do something else or do a business or whatever, work. And that really hurt me. You know what I mean? Everybody else was okay, but when my brother said that, I lost all hope. I lost. I didn't know. I didn't know whether I would ever make it, and I kept questioning myself. Why me? Why? Am I not putting in enough effort? Because I was, right? I was training like 8 hours a day. I was going to my classes. I was sleeping on time. I was eating on time. I was everything. I was going for everything, but nothing to show for it. And effort. To be very honest, you can put all the effort in, but if the results don't come, nobody cares. Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares about how much pain you're in. Nobody cares about how much trouble you're in. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's very simple, and that's when I came to realize that I had to escape. I wanted to run away, and I did. I just told my mom I have this feeling that I need to try one last time in the US. I'll just go try for like a month or so, and if something happens, good. So I took a flight over there and just kind of like, hustling my way through. And I came across, I was doing an acting course over there, and I came across this one book by Martin Phillips, and it was written that you are, as an actor, where you're meant to be, and you cannot be anywhere else whether you want to or not. That was a very simple line, but at that moment of time it really hit me, and it stuck with me. And I came to realize that, look, we all have 24 hours in a day. All of you, me, everybody. It's about how we utilize those 24 hours, and try our best not to think about what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen the day after. You can't escape it, but I'm saying, domesticate it, keep it under a leash, your thoughts, and work on the 24 hours that you have in your present moment. Dedicate that to what you feel, or what your heart calls out to, what you're passionate about. Right? And talking about passion, let me just tell you that a lot of passion, you feel like, yes, I'm always motivated, I'm always inspired. No, it's not about that. Out of all the passion, 95% of the time is boring. It's about boring things that you need to do, even when you don't feel like it. When you don't feel like working out, you go work out. When you don't feel like having salad, you gotta have salad. When you feel like you need to go for a vacation, don't go for a vacation. Go sit working, right? Because now you guys are entering your 20s, and some of you must be in your 20s. But there's two things that you can do right now. One, you can get upskilled, or you can be uplived, right? So now most of the people say YOLO, you only live once, and all that, and everybody wants to go out party, everybody wants to go out on vacation and things like that. I never went out on vacation for my 20s, never, right? Until I was maybe 33, I never went on a vacation. Ever. For 12 years, I never went on a vacation, right? For shoot, of course, and in those shoot, if you had a few days off, sure, but never personally went out. And I think it's very important that you have to choose one of the burdens that you're going to carry. One is that you skill yourself, which I did. I started working so hard on developing all my skills that I lost out on other things, which is, by the way, very important too, which I have now come to realize. But it's about balancing it all. I wouldn't say balance. It's just having a little bit of it. Today I can say that I worked so hard and upskilled myself, but I don't have too many friends, right? Because I never really invested time in relationships. At this moment of time, after success has come, could you put the next slide, please? Right? This is how I was leading my life. I was angry. Very, very, very angry. Right? But as you can see that anger in different forms come from internal conflicts within you. When you feel that you're not good enough, when you're feeling that somebody else does better and you feel inferior in any way. I have felt ignored so many times in my life. You felt like you're not wanted, you're unwelcome, and those moments led me to cry a lot. And I kind of leaned onto my mom. I kind of leaned onto my best friend, who is not here with us anymore. God bless his soul, Tushar. And I was going through something all the time. The emotional turmoil was happening within me. I only had one way to kind of take care of it, which I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's what I did. I just constantly went and worked out, right? And I kept sweating it out, or I would sleep. I would sleep, I'd work out, I'd sleep, I'd work out. And I believe that became a cycle where I thought that they say that there's, it's no pain, no gain. That's not 100% true, all right? Because that belief system that once you have that no pain is equal to no gain, means that you need to feel pain, right? Now, let me come to that. Could you go to the next slide? Right? Now, I felt like we were always running away. I'm always running away from myself. And I can't really run away from myself. Whatever your experiences are and what meaning you give to it, you give it in your head. And so have I. And I carry that wherever I go. No matter if I go to the US or if I go to wherever you want to go, but you cannot escape yourself. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a deeper work that is required of all of us. And many people kind of touch on it, but they don't teach us in school, and I feel like it's something that I'm learning at the moment. It's about, could you put the next slide, please? It's about trying your best to do most of this, right? Of course, I believe I focus so much on physicality and mentality that, okay, a strong mind equals strong body equals strong mind, yeah, let's go. But what's actually more important is being able to sit with yourself, which is very difficult for me. I have tried it now. I think in the last 3 months there's been a lot of changes in my life, and I have come to realize that having a strong understanding of how the mind works is very important. And the mind is like a monkey, it keeps jumping around, right? Now, we need to be able to control that. Right? That is in our control. That is something which is difficult, but it is in our control. Is to be able to sit with ourselves, is to be able to parent ourselves, is to be able to school ourselves, is to be able to have one inside you saying, buddy, that's wrong, I'm not feeling right, don't do it. And the other side also saying, why? So there's many sides of you that you need to start talking to in your head. And this doesn't mean you're crazy, right? There's always a coach behind your head coaching you how to be a better person. And I believe, and I think that it's very important of all you young kids, now that you guys are going to go on your journey, to understand how the mind works. Also do this, also go into, your finances and your fun and your spirituality. Of course, your spirituality is also very important because I think that it's very closely connected. How physical and mental is connected